Life expectancy in India and all around the world is only increasing. The average age up to which a person lives has increased from 60 to 70 to 80 and 90 years old. But that brings along with it a new dilemma. Your income stream has halted perhaps at the age of 60, 65, but your life expectancy is only increasing, which means now in your retired time span, you need continued income stream, and the retired time span has only increased. So how exactly then should you consider this life expectancy factor when calculating your total wealth? To talk about that and the common mistakes we make while planning for retirement, I have with me Kalpesh Ashar, a Full Circle Consultancy. Thank you so much, Kalpesh, for joining us on the Money Show. Life expectancy is something that many a times financial planners talk to their clients about, but it's always very difficult to ascertain, right? How long am I going to live, or my spouse, my family, etc. So when your clients come to you and say that, hey, I want to save for my retirement, to what extent and to what sort of weightage do you give life expectancy?
In fact, as per a recent, survey, the average life expectancy of an Indian was calculated at anywhere between 69 to 70 years. And surely with the medical advancement and all, that is shooting up by 10 and 15 years for sure. So we have many cases where at least in the urban lifestyle, we have people living up to 80, 85. And although blessing of life is there and with your family and all those things, but with it, it also brings along a host of other challenges that you need to, encounter financially to, be independent and also maintain a certain lifestyle. And more importantly, I would like to stress here, which is a non-financial fact, in fact, is to be able to live independently. Because at that age, you don't want to depend on your children for whatever reason, because they are also caught in the turmoil of their life. They are 40, 50 when you are 80, 85. And you don't want to burden them. So it's better you prepare for it. And with the increasing life expectancy, although the joys of living are there, but if you're not prepared for it, I think it adds up to a whole host of problems, which at that age, either of the husband or the wife are very ill-equipped to take. So the simple mantra, I think, to start off for planning for increased life expectancy is start early. I think there's nothing better than starting early, and those roots have to take place, in fact, when you are 25, 30, because you give yourself a very decent 30 years to plan for your retirement. Because don't forget, in financial planning, retirement is a core goal, but along with it come a host of other financial goals which you would also like to have: your children's higher education, your buying a house, and so on and so forth. So life expectancy has its pros and cons both, but you need to be financially prepared for it to, really live through it.
Okay, you've given a very interesting perspective on this, and that's conventional thoughts when it comes to retirement. Yes, wealth, of course, is a very important factor, but share with us some of these conventional thoughts as well. The children part you did cover, but what about the other thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously, once a person moves towards his retirement, or let's say the age of 60 upwards, all his thoughts, his life starts probably in many cases slowing down. He would like to not take higher risks. His food habits also would tend to be a little bit subtle. His nature would probably be a little bit more softer, and that also has a reflection on his investment attitude. I would not say investment style, but investment attitude here. And he would automatically succumb to a fact that, my risk-taking days are over, and I now need to, just preserve, conserve, and stay with whatever I've made. And I think that is where the conventional thought has to be, outpaced to a certain extent. And there comes in the picture that you need to beat inflation. That's point number one, which is growing by the day, and your life expectancy. So how do we do that? Because this conventional thoughts of retirement are always going to be there. You're going to turn religious, you're going to, become more forgiving towards everything. But your investment attitude has to be little bit, I would say, more smart. I would not say more aggressive, but smart. And there you need to plan out your resources, that even if you do a fixed income investment, how can you be tax efficient? Even if you do a little bit of aggression in equity, what percentage of equity is necessary? Because here, equity is your main weapon, your main artillery through which you are going to face your life expectancy, and also you are going to maintain your lifestyle.
Okay, that certainly is the case. Now, we always say that when you have to save for your retirement, you have to start at an early age. The later you start, the more at a disadvantage, you find yourself. So, Kalpesh, let's assume that our viewers over here, most of them are a bit youngish. They perhaps have 20, 30 odd years for retirement. What tools can they play around with to prep themselves for the same?
So the simple mantra is that be very, very disciplined in goal setting. And once you've set your goals, I think you need to really prepare yourself of creating a large wealth corpus for retirement. Because many a times people make a big cardinal mistake of not accounting for inflation. They might be under the assumption so that if I am spending a certain amount of money right now, probably that's just multiplied by the number of life expectancy years I would require after retirement, and there the entire basket has tumbled. You do not consider inflation because you're also going to live with inflation. So the best way to start preparing for it now is to set aside a certain amount of money with a long-term perspective in equity. Now, if you are well equipped, you know a lot about direct equity, you are well researched, then good dividend yielding stocks or good blue chip companies or good even mid-cap companies, if you are well researched, you can buy them and keep them in your equity portfolio. But if you're not, and majority of the people are not equipped to do that, then there is nothing better than equity-based mutual funds where professionals work on your behalf. They take the calls, they invest your money according to the market categories in the large cap, multi caps, in the mid cap and small cap categories, and grow your money. So that is where you will have the best chance to grow your corpus. Now that is as far the equity component which you are doing. If you are a salaried person, as on today, you are blessed because you have the EPF working for you. And EPF is a brilliant tool because it, as on today, as we speak, is giving an interest of around 8.65% tax-free interest. And tax-free is the main catchword here because that is a blessing for all the salaried people. Your 12% of your basic salary, your employer contributes the same. It goes on to build a large corpus. And just on the verge of retirement, that balloons up into a good, very, very secure type of an investment. So apart from that, also the long-term investments which people have, the PPF for people who do not have the facility of an EPF in the fixed income basket are very good tools to project for the long term, but equity component in the early years is a must.
Okay. Now let's assume the not so favorable scenario, and that is of a person either at the cusp of retirement or perhaps even already retired, in even worse cases. Now, obviously the reliance to equity mutual funds should be diminished because, like we say, investing in equities, you have to do so for the long haul in equity mutual funds. So then how will the scenario entirely change? For some of our senior citizens who may be watching right now, what would you advise them?
So this is where, the role of asset allocation comes into play, and I would say a professional advisor comes to the fore. Because you don't need to, completely go on the back foot and start, shifting your entire corpus to a fixed income type of a scenario. You will have to ascertain what are your needs when you retire, and you will have to draw out that much money from the corpus which you've accumulated over the years. So ideally, like what you said is quite right, that a simple equation would be as you move post-retirement, you could have around 70 to 75% of your money in fixed income space and the remaining surely 25 to 30% in equity. And in that, create a basket. Do not concentrate all your investments in a particular asset because that's going to be quite risky. And don't forget that you need liquidity. So many people, have this myth, I would say, that they invest in real estate as an investment and think of it that this is going to be an investment they will break on the cusp of their retirement or post-retirement, and have either the rental coming in or they'll sell the entire property. Because what happens, as we've seen, In real estate, you cannot liquidate that particular asset at a given point of time due to various legal reasons or any other financial reasons which could come up, and you are stuck. So do not lock your retirement corpus in such an asset which you cannot liquidate when you want it. Other aspect here I would like to make here is that there are many instruments right now in the fixed income space which do a very decent job even for senior citizens, and in the last 5 to 6 years I think there has been a couple of great innovations by the government. They've introduced, one is the senior citizen savings scheme of the government, which gives you a very good return of almost 8.6%, and that is paid quarterly, which is excellent, and you get a section 80C benefit under that. The second one, and you have a limit of 15 lakh per individual. So if you and your spouse can have that type of a corpus, you can actually invest 30 lakh rupees. Similar type of a scheme is the Pradhan Mantri Vay Vandana Yojana, which is a pension scheme, and obviously both the schemes are taxable, the interest accruing out of it, but that gives you a lock-in of 10 years at 8% fixed, and you have the facility of a monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, annual payout, and in case you decide an annual payout, the interest goes up to 8.3 guaranteed. So these two are lovely fixed income instruments. So plan out your fixed income basket, diversify, and have liquidity in your hand also of your cash flow.
Well, yeah, the senior citizens scheme certainly does, among all the small savings deposit scheme, offer the best rate of interest. Okay, on that note now, let's kickstart our Ask the Money Show segment, where we open the phone line for all our viewers. If you have any questions or queries, do send them in. Now, very first call is coming in from Dr. Raj. He is from Aurangabad. Hi, Dr. Raj. Thank you so much for calling in. What's your question?
I want to ask.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Actually, I want to ask my question regarding my retirement portfolio. I want to analyze my retirement portfolio.
Yes.
I am 41 year old right now. My housing liability is taken care, and I have only one 12-year-old kid.
Okay.
For the education of the kid, I have made a separate arrangement. So within next couple of years, 2 years, I am planning to put 2.5 CR as lump sum from my different income sources and lock it for 20 years as part of my retirement plan.
Okay.
I am planning to, or I am on my way to put 1 CR in large cap quality mutual funds, which are rated, 50 lakh in mid cap quality funds, then 50 lakhs in index funds, and then 50 lakh in quality blue chip stocks. So this is how I am going to put 2.5 CR. I have already put like 50% of it in different funds, which I have mentioned, and some in stocks. So how is my retirement diversification of the overall portfolio? Do I need to make any changes inside it? I will prefer to take a little bit risk, preserve capital, as well as I am expecting a return of at least 12% at the end of 20 years, so that I will get at least 20-25 CR in my hand actually.
Yeah, 12% return is reasonable, and I think it's the first good step that you've taken is that you've properly decided that you're going to be planning for, saving for retirement. Okay, Kalpesh, how would you help Raj out? Do you think this portfolio allocation, diversification is sufficient for him to meet his goal?
Yeah, so I think more or less he's done a lot of homework, and he has done, he was tick most of the boxes he's done right, because even he's telling that he's got a separate goal of education for his child, and he's already provided for it. So he's not, mixing up too many goals, and he's now focused on his retirement only. So in that context, if he's got a corpus of 2.5 CR, and which he is very, very, I think, reasonably accounting for at 12% CAGR, which is a good thing for people to estimate. So the other good part, what he's done is that he has bifurcated that in equity completely. So he's kept 50 lakh for direct equity, which is again not a great component of the full corpus which he's putting. He's put large caps, almost 50% of it. He's put money in mid caps. So more or less, I think it doesn't need more of tinkering. But only one thing I would like to just point out here very, pointedly is that you need to account for inflation and come at a very definite type of a corpus which you would require. I think just estimating and moving towards a certain amount would not be the right thing. have your expenses calculated right now and your other goals also in case if they come up. One important thing, although you're a doctor, I would like to point out here, please ensure that you have an adequate insurance in place. A good term plan would do you no good because you're still 41 and you have 20 years of your working life left.
All right. Okay. Actually, I just had a follow-up question on lump sum investment versus SIP. But for now, let's just focus in on Ask the Money Show and try and answer as many viewer queries as we can. Let's take on board our next question. Vishwanathan is calling us from Dubai. Good evening. Thank you for calling in. What's your query?
Madam, I am a senior citizen
Yes.
living in Dubai after my retirement.
Yes.
I would like to know from the expert, is there any specific or any dedicated kind of saving scheme for the senior citizens who are in the retirement living outside India as a NRI?
Okay, all right. So, Kalpesh, in our earlier discussion, you referred to two schemes. Are those schemes open for NRIs as well to invest in them? And if you could, for the benefit of our viewer, once again, give us a brief about them.
So these two schemes being the government schemes, I don't think they would be eligible for NRIs to invest. They are very, very eligible and perfect ones for the local Indian residents. So that could be discounted. But for senior citizens, I think living abroad and who are NRIs, if they decide to come back to India, I think a detailed understanding is required because there's a host of other ancillary factors which a person would have to look at if he decides to come back to India being an NRI. You'll have to look at your permanent stay here. You would have to look at your regular flow of income. You would have to look at your taxation issues. And more importantly, like the main topic of today's show is you'll have to account for your equity component because life expectancy is going up a lot. So your mutual fund investments will have to be looked at. There are many other factors you will have to consider before you decide to invest in India as an NRI, and that too for your retirement.
Okay, well, yes, that's the view then coming in from Kalpesh. Thank you, Vishwanathan, for joining us on the phone line. Okay, next up, one of our regular callers is joining us now, Jitendra Kumar from Bihar. Jitendra ji, thank you phone करने के लिए. आपका क्या question है?
मेरा क्वेश्चन है, हम सीनियर सिटीजन हैं
जी
और हमको मंथली रेगुलर इनकम के लिए
जी
डेट फंड में इन्वेस्ट करना है.
ओके.
तो कौन सा डेट फंड ठीक रहेगा मेरे लिए?
और ये जो आपका मंथली इनकम होगा वो आपका ओनली सोर्स ऑफ इनकम होगा?
नहीं
और है. ठीक है. ओके, सो कल्पेश, हाउ वुड यू हेल्प एंड यू कुड ऑफ कोर्स रिस्पोंड इन हिंदी.
तो जितेंद्र जी, हम ये कहना चाहेंगे कि आपका जो सिर्फ अगर आप इतनी ही राय चाहते हैं कि आप एक डेट फंड में अगर इन्वेस्ट करें और वहाँ से आप एक मासिक तौर पे वहाँ से कुछ एक्सपेक्ट करें एक रेगुलर इनकम के तौर पे, तो मैं यही कहना चाहता हूँ कि IDFC बॉन्ड फंड का जो शॉर्ट टर्म प्लान है वो एक बहुत ही अच्छा प्लान है और वहाँ पे आप तकरीबन 3 से 5 साल का नज़रिया रख के आप वहाँ से SWP यानी कि सिस्टमैटिक विड्रॉल प्लान के ज़रिए से हर महीने एक निर्धारित अमाउंट तय कर सकते हैं और एक निर्धारित तारीख पे वो अमाउंट आपके अकाउंट में क्रेडिट हो सकती है. लेकिन आपका पूरा पोर्टफोलियो भी जानना ज़रूरी है और आपको ये भी एक सूचना यहाँ पे होती है कि डेट फंड्स में जब आप निवेश करते हैं तो वहाँ पे भी थोड़ी वॉलेटिलिटी आने की एक अपेक्षा रहती है, तो वो भी आप ध्यान में रखें तो बेहतर होगा.
ओके, ऑलराइट जितेंद्र जी, आई होप आपको ये राय हेल्प करेगी. थैंक यू फ़ोन करने के लिए. Okay, let's take squeeze in one more question then from our viewers that we have received via email, and this one is coming in from Anil Kumar. Now, Anil writes into us saying, I am a salaried employee going to retire in a couple of months. I will get a PF of nearly 1 crore rupees. Can you advise which mutual funds or other instruments should I invest in with the below additional information? Firstly, should I not withdraw PF so that interest can continue to accrue but it will be taxable? Secondly, I don't need the money for another 2-3 years, nor do I need any monthly return from the Provident Fund. After 2-3 years, I'll need a periodic return of nearly maybe 8 to 10 lakhs per annum. Risk appetite moderate, will be happy with any return exceeding 12 to 14%. And for mutual funds as well, he wants to know what's the right decision. Okay, he's going to retire in a couple of months. So like I said, he's just at the cusp of retirement. He's going to get 1 crore in Provident Fund. So how would you advise him, Kalpesh, to go about with this 1 crore rupee fund?
So ideally, first answering your question, I think it would be prudent for you to, although you don't require it, that you've gathered a certain tax-free amount from your PF, it would be prudent to take that money out, because once you retire and you're reaching the age of 58, I think there won't be any interest you will be getting on that also. And good for you that, I don't know your age, but you know that in case you retire before that, it will be taxable. So, having a plan in place and taking that money out right now would be good for you. You have a decent corpus. That's point number 1 from your PF. The point number 2 is that, it's better to plan with asset allocation right now. And given that you don't need the money for next 2-3 years, it's all the more better. So you can have, like I've been saying in the show, a basket of fixed income investments and equity, both made according to your risk profile and your regular income source. So now, as far as your regular income from fixed income goes, you can always invest in the 2 schemes which I recommend, the government schemes, the Pradhan Mantri Vay Vandana Yojana and the government savings scheme. Both of them would give you that regular flow of income. Here, I would like to also add that you can add a good amount of short-term debt mutual funds, and you can even look at a small amount of investment in AAA rated corporate FDs. Just a couple of big names feature there. So I think you can just have a small amount allocated there. That way your fixed income basket will be complete. And in the equity part of the basket, you can look at equity mutual funds. You can start off by investing in index funds or large cap funds, multi-cap funds, and have a drawdown through the SWP, systematic withdrawal plan method. The funds I would recommend here for you in the equity space is the ICICI Prudential Nifty Index Fund, the Mirae Asset Large Cap Fund. In the multi-cap space, you have the SBI Focused Equity Fund, the ICICI Prudential Balanced Advantage Fund. You can all have an SWP. From that, after a period of 1 year, you can start withdrawing a certain amount. And finally, in the debt scheme, I've just recommended the IDFC Bond Fund Short-Term Plan. So that would create a complete basket. And one more aspect here, although you've given your expectation of monthly returns, I would just suggest you redo your calculations, because inflation needs to be taken into account and the rate of return on investments. You need to be realistic on that count.
Okay, well, on that note, we will switch off our phone lines for now on Ask the Money Show, because we're out of time. So thank you, viewers, for calling in. And Kalpesh, as always, it was a pleasure having you with us on board. And of course, very patiently answering all those questions and queries from our viewers.